welcome to Sunshine Cathedral's Queer God Squad. It's Monday, March 17th. I am Darrell Watkins, the senior minister here at Sunshine Cathedral, an auxiliary bishop of the Global Justice Institute, and the current president of the Divine Science Federation. With me today is Bishop Robert Griffin of the Global Justice Institute, Reverend Dr. Ann Atwell, and Reverend Kevin Tisdall, all of whom minister with me at Sunshine Cathedral. Visit sunshinecathedral.org to learn more about our progressive faith community and how you can be a part of it no matter where you live in the world. And if you live in South Florida, be sure to check out the Sunshine Cathedral Center for the Performing Arts, offering entertainment for the LGBTQ+ community to benefit the LGBTQ+ community. Queer God Squad was created by Hotspots Happening Out to support our mission to explore the value of faith in the LGBTQ community. There is no streaming TV show like this in the entire world. In 2025, we are celebrating the 40th anniversary of Hotspots magazine, the 5th anniversary of Queer News Tonight, with nearly 10,000 stories and 10 million views in 2024. We will produce the 25th anniversary of Stonewall Pride Parade and Festival on June 14th, Pride Fest Diversity Pride in August, and now the near 50th anniversary of Pride Fort Lauderdale in February. We are the largest nonprofit LGBTQ media organization in America, and we encourage you to support our mission to inform, entertain, and educate our community and allies. If you enjoy the Queer God Squad, please share this or other episodes with your friends, family, and social media communities. This is the Sunshine Cathedral Perspective. Queer God Squad discusses Bible Jesus versus MAGA Jesus. In the Bible, we see Jesus throwing a fit when businesses exploit pilgrims visiting the temple. Jesus says it's easier for a camel to squeeze through the eye of a needle than for a wealthy person to experience the realm of God. Wealth and power were temptations he faced in the wilderness, and he concluded that rather than worshiping power, one ought to only serve goodness and love, aka God. When Jesus saw a poor widow giving 2 small coins to the temple treasury, he praised her generosity. She gave with love, and she literally gave all she could. And to Jesus, that was worth more than much larger gifts given for less righteous reasons. When Peter tried to defend Jesus, Jesus told him to put away his sword. Jesus preached, "Blessed are the merciful." We see a man intimately reclining on Jesus' chest at the Last Supper, and Jesus tells his disciples that they should be known for their loving kindness. Jesus quoted the Torah's command that we love our neighbor, and he gave the golden rule. He said, "Woe to you who neglect justice." Jesus said to give clothes to people in need, turn the other cheek, and pray for people you can't stand. He also prayed that his tormentors be pardoned for acting out of ignorance. That's the Jesus we find in the New Testament. That is a stark contrast to MAGA Jesus, who is suspicious of foreigners, intolerant of gays, antagonistic toward their trans neighbors, and daily vilifies people in ways that they would find offensive if they were treated in the same manner. In fact, in contrast to the justice-seeking, love-commanding Jesus, the MAGA Messiah recently declared, quote, "The U.S. will be woke no longer," end quote. In short, Bible Jesus wants people to be generous, kind, and fair, while MAGA Jesus only cares about MAGA folk and not really all of them. The Bible Jesus seems cool. MAGA Jesus seems like a jerk. Who could possibly prefer MAGA Jesus to Bible Jesus? We're God Squad? Weigh in. First of all, I have to acknowledge, if my nose, it's not just itch off my face, I don't know what's going on. I have to acknowledge.
MAGA's coming to sign.
See? MAGA Jesus.
Duck and cover, man.
No, I have to acknowledge that any Jesus we're talking about is a construct. Mm-hmm. Jesus didn't leave a diary. Jesus didn't write anything. We don't have any photographs of Jesus. There was no journalist walking around recording things that he said. The first person who talks about Jesus is Paul, that we have records to, and Paul never met him.
I ain't never seen the man.
And he'd been gone 20 years when Paul suggested that suddenly posthumous Jesus was visiting him and telling him things. So the first gospel then isn't written until the year 70, which is 40 years after Jesus' execution. So everything we know about Jesus is second, third hand. It's being talked about from a particular perspective to a particular audience. We are not that audience. So any Jesus we come up with is a construct. Mark's Jesus looks a little bit different than John's Jesus. John and Matthew and Mark and Luke's Jesus all look different than Paul's Jesus. Bible Jesus looks pretty different than Constantine's Jesus in the 4th century, and so on. And all of these look super different than the fundamentalist Jesus that popped up in the early 20th century. So any Jesus we're talking about is a contract. So knowing that to be true, the Jesus we come up with really has a lot more to do with us than a historical Jesus. We have clues, but we don't have anything we can prove. Scholars are I wouldn't say unanimous, but there's a consensus among scholars that there was a Jesus. And there's every reason to believe that he had a huge impact on somebody, because you don't create myths about someone who didn't seem myth-worthy. And so that's what we know, is that there was almost certainly a Jesus, and some people thought he was super great. That's what we know. That was what we can almost prove. And so it's a construct. So one wonders why you would construct an evil Jesus, and why that would be compelling to anyone else. Now, that being said, the Jesus constructed in the scriptures is the one that we just shared. That the stories we have about him, though not firsthand accounts, though not written in his own hands, the Jesus constructed, the Jesus that people thought they were following, the Jesus they thought people they were hearing about, the Jesus they thought was worth modeling their life after, was this guy about justice and generosity and kindness and compassion and openness and inclusivity and healing and openness. And that's the Jesus of the Bible. It's our Bible, so I'm going to assume that should be our Jesus. I just don't know where the gun-toting, evil, foreigner-hating, racist, woman-hating, violent, where'd that come from? You're certainly entitled to create your own Jesus, everyone does, but where did that one come from? It is very different than Bible Jesus.
Well, going off of that and what you just said about we create our own Jesus, writer Anne Lamott once said, if you have created God in your own image, then you're going to see exactly who you are. Yeah. So these folks that have created Jesus, I'm going to change from God to Jesus, or created Jesus in their image. So if Jesus hates the same people they hate, guess what? We like that Jesus. But there's kind of a difference too. To be a Jesus follower versus being saved. That's two very different things. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. And if we follow Jesus, we follow the message that is in the Bible, the actions of Jesus. That to me is to be a follower of Jesus. But the MAGA Jesus doesn't really seem to do that. It's more, I think, about being saved and following how we determine it to be, rather than following what is in the Bible. So that's just my understanding
of from afterlife violence.
Like exactly.
Construct.
So MAGA Jesus versus follower of Jesus, very different things.
So different.
I think that I'm going to just requote you. The Jesus that people see is the Jesus that they're most comfortable with. Yeah. And that part kind of bothers me also. I keep going back to the story that I read some time ago about a pastor who simply preached the Sermon on the Mount. Simply read to their congregation that sermon that Jesus gave. And at the end of it, some of the parishioners were coming out and they were asking him, where did you get that progressive crap?
Woke. They call it woke.
Where'd you get that woke crap? Yeah. Don't you bring that to our church? And the pastor said, but all I did was read to you verbatim my copy of my Bible, and this is what it said. And one of them said, that was then. This is now.
Yeah.
Okay, then what in the heck are we following if we're not following our brother who laid out the ideas that we are supposed to feel comfortable with? And that is taking care of each other. And that's the bottom line. Take care of each other. Don't be nasty to one another. Don't do anything. I think you said it. Don't do anything to someone else that you don't want done to yourself. And I really think that it's that simple, and we keep walking away from that. So I don't fully understand how a MAGA Jesus can be anything other than the wrong way to go.
No.
When I was a kid, all these churches, because in the South, churches do everything. And so these churches would bring these services to nursing homes. And we do that here now at Sunshine Cathedral too, but in those days, everyone did it. So Sunday at a nursing home would be the Salvation Army, and then the Catholics, and the Baptists, and the Methodists. It was just all day long. And the Episcopal and the Church of Christ were like back to back. Not the United Church of Christ, the Church of Christ, which is, super, super fundy,
little different,
Yeah, a little
yeah.
different. And one of this little old Church of Christ lady was like, was kind of playing with the Episcopal deacon who was there doing the service. And she said, you Whiskey-Palians. She said, we've got to put up with you Whiskey-Palians before we get to the real service. And so he played back. He said, well, you know that Jesus' first miracle was turning water into wine. And she said, yeah, that's the one thing I never liked about Jesus.
Oh, okay.
So it's true, though. That he goes, well, we'll just, if we don't like it, we'll just do something else with it.
Wow.
Yep.
That's the one thing.
Oh my goodness.
I have no love lost on this current administration.
I'm shocked.
And anyone that will just consistently follow the MAGA Messiah with whatever comes out and believe it is truth, I will pray for you. And this whole thing about, the U.S. will be woke no more. Really?
No,
Really?
come on.
Ridiculous.
Come on.
You don't get to do that.
Your speechwriter needs to do better. Just going to say it, because your speechwriter didn't write that for you. I know this. And the other, related to the story about the MAGA Messiah complex, it's fascinating how the complex came to be, and how he quickly adopted to the Messiah complex. And when I think of, if I think of messiahs and people who would fall in that category, he certainly would not be one of them. Mother Teresa, Messiah complex. Yes, I get it. She's out there. She's teaching. She was leading, doing unto others. She would have people doing her. The current Pope, just bursting open the church at the seams with all these radical things he's wanted to do.
Yeah, like kindness.
Yeah, with kindness and feeding people and washing people's feet.
Yeah.
This is not the example of what this person represents in my mind.
No.
And if it's even in some current news that for me, it's kind of horrifying and troubling that once again that America was once considered, but is now officially on the human rights watch list.
Yeah.
All because of the things that
This fool.
and there were some other things escalating before this fool, but within the last 6 to 7 weeks, because of his position around targeted communities, it almost escalated this country to being on that particular list. So anybody who thinks that this person is a Messiah leading someone to unity and reconciliation, that's not this. That is not this at all.
To this crowd, though, to the MAGA people, and to him, and to the administration, Messiah is just a word for power.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
And originally, Messiah was meant to be an anointed warrior king.
Exactly.
And so
She's
it's
not.
meant to be powerful, but the Messiah, of course, couldn't be the Messiah with bone spurs. You couldn't be a warrior king if you wouldn't go into the army. But for this group, Messiah means powerful. If it wasn't that, it would be emperor. Emperor means power, or dictator, or general, or whatever the symbol. This isn't about Jesus. This isn't about religion. This isn't about spirituality. This isn't about justice. This is about power.
Power.
And Messiah for them is just a power symbol, and he wants power.
Well,
And they are letting him just take it in unprecedented ways. It's going to.
well,
It's unsustainable, but getting to the other side of it's not going to be pretty.
Messiah for the evangelicals, emperor for the political people who want to follow him. So that's like a double whammy on power, and also just extremely misleading. So,
Yep.
And I want to see what's going to happen when he bankrupts almost everybody. within his sphere.
I don't think we have to wait till Christmas to see that.
Oh,
Wow.
we're what, 8-9 weeks into the administration, and he's talking about, well, I don't know if we're going to get away.
Well, people who are going to retire this
recession.
year are already like, well, I can't retire
their
now
401ks
because
are
the
gone.
thing is
Yeah.
gone.
They're
Thanks.
gone. They're gone.
So, thanks.
Yep.
Be careful
Okay.
who you follow.
Careful who you vote for.
Amen.
Yeah. That too.
And don't stay home and not vote.
Exactly.
right.
Because,
You get what you
Here
get.
we
it out.
are. Yep.
well, that's today with the Queer God Squad.
Hallelujah. Before we go, we want to invite you to join Sunshine Cathedral on a wonderful travel experience and help our mission for our community. Join us on the Florida AIDS Walk Pride Cruise. This unique 3-day cruise will sail from Miami on the $1 billion and ultra deluxe 170,000-ton MSC Seascape on November 2nd, 2025. The cruise is for the Florida AIDS Walk. Your participation helps 13 vital beneficiaries in our community. The cruise is an incredible value starting at just $199 and is also a fundraiser for the Sunshine Cathedral. Parties, special events, and more aboard, including special unlimited beverage and open bar with Wi-Fi for all 3 days for just $68. We invite you to join us on this amazing cruise for fun. This vital cruise for good.
Thank you for joining the Queer God Squad today. We are here daily at 3 p.m. to have some fun and to discuss what our LGBTQ community is talking about.
Sunshine Cathedral is the world's leading progressive queer church. Progressive, queer, and God are words that naturally should go together. Remember that. We all are in this together.
Also remember, you are God's miracle, not God's mistake. Until next time, we are the Queer God Squad. Goodbye.